And one factoring into today's video, we're going to have a look at various things today, a bit of an eclectic mishmash of stuff on this Sunday morning, leisurely musing through solar activity, the QBO, sea surface temperature anomalies, and the stratospheric warming that occurred earlier in the week as well. So I hope you find the video interesting. I was wondering with things to come up with on a Sunday morning. I'd like to do a little bit of a longer range look ahead on Sundays, but most of the long range models don't update until later in the month. Of course, we're finished with the winter updates now, yeah, I have a bit of a struggle on Sundays to come up with things to discuss, but I hope you find this video interesting. It's going to be a little bit different to what we normally do at GaussWeatherViz.com. Before I get on with that, just say about the ads. There's links to articles on most pages at GaussWeatherViz, so have a browse with widgets, any articles that you're interested in, just click through and you'll be able to go off and read those articles, and at the same time GaussWeatherViz is going to royalty fee on what you're doing. Thanks very much for doing that. There's also yellow weather related ads on most pages, so have a look at what those are about and click through those if you're interested. All these things are helping to pay the website, so thanks very much for getting involved, and thanks for doing that. So just to start off with centering temperature, show you how things are progressing through this month. We're starting off here provisionally up to the 9th of January at 6.3 degrees, which is an anomaly of 2.8 degrees above average. So it's been a very warm start to January once again. New Year's Day is just about the warmest New Year's Day on record, and of course it's very, very warm Friday, late Friday, overnight Friday night into Saturday, exceptionally mild with minimum temperature not dropping below around 12 or 13 or 14 degrees across many parts of England and Wales on Friday night. A really, really balmy night, more like what you'd expect in June than January. So that's the reason that we had a very warm start to this month. I think we're going to see that cooling off a little bit over the coming week, because temperature anomalies are coming out a little bit cooler than average. This used to be an anomaly for the 11th to the 19th of January. And we're in those very pale blue, because they're not going to be cold week by any means, but it is cooler. And really, it is in the west of Europe that's got these cooler conditions. Most parts of Europe actually are having a very warm week in those red colours, the core of it, over into Russia. But out in the far west, we're going to be a little bit cooler. So that anomaly should come down a little bit, but it's probably looking like another milder than average month once again, certainly at this stage. Now, the stratospheric warming, it did occur earlier in the week. We're cooling down quite quickly now in terms of the stratospheric temperature over the North Pole. So this black line is telling us where the stratospheric temperature has been and where it currently is as well. The grey line is the 30-year average in terms of the stratospheric temperature. So we got that warming through the first week of January. We shot up with the stratospheric temperature, went up to nearly minus 50 at 30 HPA over the North Pole. To put that in context, the stratospheric warming that occurred at the start of January 2013 went up to somewhere around here, around minus 35 at 30 HPA over North Pole. So we was well short of the stratospheric warming that occurred at the start of 2013. Of course, that eventually led us into a really cold pattern for the second half of winter of 2013. So we are well under that. We come out at nearly minus 50 at 30 HPA. It's a fairly significant warming, but it's not a sudden stratospheric warming. It's not one of those big events that can really switch the pattern dramatically. So although this warming has occurred, we probably will see some blocking from it. I'm not sure it's going to be a real game changer for this winter, particularly as we've got such a strong polar vortex currently blasting away over Greenland and on our side of the North Pole. We're cooling down now, and we're almost back towards the 30-year average. And maybe another little minor warming over the coming few days, but we won't go back up to this sort of level, probably going back up somewhere to around there. But overall, I'm not sure this is really going to be a tremendous game changer in the fate of this winter. Now, the Arctic Oscillation observed in the forecast chart is showing the chance of some blocking appearing over the pole. So the black line here is where the Arctic Oscillation has been. And of course, the Arctic Oscillation is an indication of blocking. When it's negative, it's telling you that you've got blocking. When it's positive, it's telling you that you've got a strong polar vortex churning away over the North Pole. So we have been very positive with the Arctic Oscillation, of course, through most of January. training with us. Just here we have had a positive AO, and that's because we've had a lot of low pressure over the pole. The red lines here are the forecast charts from the GFS. We see that we are being forecast to drop down. We're certainly probably going to go down towards neutral with the Arctic oscillation in the second half of the month. Several members of this ensemble are actually going very negative. So there is an indication there that there could be some blocking appearing from this stratospheric warming that occurred. Of course, that blocking doesn't necessarily have to sit on our side of the pole, doesn't necessarily have to put us into a position for cold, because you're always looking for an equilibrium with the weather. So if one place is cold, another place is going to be warm. So exactly where that blocking sets up and whether we're on the cold or the mild side of it is the other crucial point, and you can't tell that just by having a stratospheric warming. In 2013 we got very, very lucky with that sudden stratospheric warming and the blocking that was produced by it, because we were very nearly constantly on the cold side of the blocking. So yeah, that's something else that you can't tell, whether, even if blocking occurs, whether we do finish up on the mild side or the cold side of that blocking. The North Atlantic oscillation is not responding in the same way though. We're very positive with North Atlantic oscillation at the moment. Again, it's the same idea. Black line is where the NAO has been, the red line where the NAO is forecast to go. This is again an index that reflects the state of the atmosphere in the North Atlantic this time rather than the pole. When it's positive, you've got low pressure around Iceland and high pressure through the Azores, and you're strengthening the West Indies. It's the reverse when it's negative. You've got low pressure around the Azores and high pressure around Iceland. So we've been very positive with the North Atlantic oscillation since the start of January. Did get a little bit of a dip there at the end of December when it turned cold, got that little cold snap. But yeah, the North Atlantic oscillation has gone up into very positive territory through January, hence the strong westerly flows that we've been getting. And the red lines here are the forecast anomalies, the forecast ensemble I should say, and that's generally continuing very positive really. We do go perhaps a little bit towards neutral as we get towards the end of the month, but there's no real suggestion here that we're going negative, unlike the Arctic oscillation, which is being forecast to go negative on some of those ensemble members. With the North Atlantic oscillation, no, it looks like we're staying positive. So we may have a bit of a fight developing if we do get that blocking over the North Pole. We may not see the North Atlantic getting into a state that allows that blocking to produce cold conditions in any case. This is the current sea surface temperature anomaly for the globe. It's quite interesting what's going on with these anomalies, because we're a little bit deviating from where you would expect we would be. So in terms of the Pacific, we've got all of this warmth here around the coast of North America and Canada on the Pacific side. That's indicative of a positive PDO, Pacific Decadal Oscillation. At this particular moment, we should be in a cold PDO. So this should really be showing quite cold conditions down this Pacific side of Canada and North America. But we deviate from that. Did last winter, we are this winter, and we're more or less in a warm PDO state with that at the moment. Conversely, the Atlantic, which should be in a warm AMO phase, Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation, the Atlantic is in a cold AMO phase. So we have all this cold water here going off the coast of Spain and Portugal down towards North Africa, and also into the central part of the Atlantic as well. Not tremendously cold AMO, but it is colder than you will think it should be, or you would expect it to be at this particular point in the cycle. So we've got a warm PDO and a cold AMO, and this is very similar to the sort of situation you had going on in the 1990s. You remember that the 1990s were sort of a death knell for cold winters. There was hardly any cold winters throughout the whole of the decade of the 1990s, just one or two, 95, 96 and 90, 91. But all of the other winters through the 1990s really were a complete and total write-off for cold conditions. And that was when we was in a phase of a cold Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation and a warm Pacific Pacific decadal oscillation. And we're in sort of the same situation with this winter, so it's probably not surprising that we're having a relatively mild winter, albeit not to the exceptional sort of extent that we had last winter. At least we're getting a few frosts and a few occasional wintry showers coming through this winter, which we didn't have last winter. But looking at the state of the oceans with a cold AMO signal and a warm PDO signal, it isn't all that surprising really that the winter isn't panning out all that cold just at the moment. The QBO is still easterly. You remember we talked about this a lot running up to the winter. The quasi-biennial oscillation, which really is a reflection of the strength of the westerlies. So, in theory, the westerlies should be weaker across the northern hemisphere, but it's not panning out particularly well. And I did say that the QBO on its own, you can't really use it as a forecasting tool, because whilst being in an easy phase of the QBO, in theory having weaker westerlies across the northern hemisphere should enhance your chance of a cold winter. There are many, many cold winters through this list, and this goes all the way back to 1953. Many winters here that are easterly QBO winters, but also going along with mild winters. So the QBO on its own, and this is being shown up very nicely, I think, by this winter, is not a reliable forecasting tool. A lot of people use the QBO as sort of the be-all and end-all of forecasting. It is not a reliable forecasting tool on its own, and I think that's being shown up by this winter. The sunspot activity, solar activity, shows that we're quite low actually currently. This is the solar disk on our side of disk from website solarham.net today, and yeah, we're fairly low with sunspot activity, but we're still in one of these little uptick phases really. So this is the latest sunspot number progression graph from NOAA, NOAA, the forecast agency in the United States. And you can see that we're getting these little ticks upwards and downwards. We had a downwards tick in November, October I should say, then we ticked upwards November. The very latest tick here for December shows that we ticked up again with the solar activity in December. We aren't going back to the sort of levels that we had last winter with the sunspot activity, where we really reached the solar maximum of this particular solar cycle. Nevertheless, we're in one of these phases coming off the solar maximum. I'll explain this leading up to the winter during the updates. We're in one of the we're in the phase of this solar cycle coming off the solar maximum, where we're getting these ticks upwards, and that's sort of enhancing the jet stream. It's not great really, the position coming off the solar maximum to get a colder than average winter. So again, that's probably bearing some that probably causes some of the westerliness that we're seeing. It probably responsible for some of the strong westerlies. Nevertheless, we are well below the last solar maximum. This is solar maximum of solar cycle 23 over here, and we're well underneath that, so I mean, there is the chance that we could get some blocking occurring. But overall, when you're coming out of the solar maximum, for 2 or 3 years afterwards, is not a great time, because you tend to be getting these ticks upwards. But we should be on a downwards trend any time from now, really. This red line is the trend line going towards the solar minimum of 2019. We should be on a downwards trend. Solar flux as well is also ticking upwards. So we've got fairly active solar activity, sunspot activity, and solar flux. Solar flux is really a reflection of the noise that the sun is giving off. So yeah, we've got a fairly active sun at the moment, and that isn't particularly great for getting a cold and winter. Finally, trying to deal with this storm for this week. It looks like I've got agreement between the models for Thursday, and the idea today is to take that low pressure centre of it across Scotland, and the strongest winds as always on the southern side. So it's really Ireland, England and Wales that get the battering from those very, very tightly packed ice bars Wednesday night into Thursday. Severe gales are possible with this. That is gusts of wind across many parts of England, Wales, up to 60 or 70 miles an hour. Around western hills and coasts, you could go more, perhaps up to 80 miles an hour on that sort of scenario. So that's pretty rough. A pretty rough day there being indicated by the GFS for Thursday. The GFS parallel is identical. The centre of the low pressure is over Scotland, so the worst of the winds is for Ireland, England and Wales. Really, really nasty day coming up on Thursday, if that is correct. That is enough to cause disruption. could be some disruptive weather on Thursday. The ECMWF is very similar with the centre of the low pressure headed over Scotland. Not sure the isobars are quite so tightly packed for England and Wales, but England and Wales is getting the worst of the winds on Wednesday into Thursday. I'm not sure this is quite as disruptive as the GFS products are indicated, but nevertheless the signal is still sort of there, same idea, low pressure centre over Scotland, worst of the winds for England and Wales. We go out beyond that and we find the low pressure clearing off to the east. We pull down this cold northerly wind for next weekend, so we could have a bit of a cold snap, but it doesn't last all that long as we go into the third week of the month. This is the 19th through to 21st of January, day 10. The westerlies are returning on the GFS model. So, bit of a cold snap next weekend as that storm system clears away east, but probably not lasting more than a day or two before it turns milder. The ECMWF doesn't really even bring us that cold snap next weekend, keeps us generally in a westerly flow, albeit quite a chilly westerly flow. Go through to day 10, Wednesday the 21st. And yeah, the westerlies are still continuing and no real sign of anything to break us out of it. So looking at the things that we've been looking at today, it's not surprising that we're having a relatively mild winter. The winter forecast from GavsWeatherViz.com was erring on the side of milder than average, although I did say we'd probably have a colder winter was the case last winter. I think we're bearing that out. Also, I indicated that we could have our best chance of cold weather in February. Of course, we're still some way short of February, so let's wait and see how it pans out. We may find some blocking turning up for February, but so far it is a fairly mildish winter, certainly not a particularly cold winter, and with the things we've looked at today, it's not really all that surprising that the winter is not turning out to be a particularly cold one so far. And then all eyes on that storm as we go into the middle of next week, or middle of this week, as it is. I may update the Snow Watch page this evening, see what is happening in terms of the chance of that little bit of a snow event across parts of the country on Tuesday. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Hope you found the video interesting. That's all for now. Bye for now.